face!
This week on At the Movies with Ebert and Roeper, Brendan Fraser and Jet Li go head-to-head in The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
You gotta have some fire. You gotta have a reason, or you don't have a reason.
Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young experience deja vu.
People really like you, but I feel like you're one of them.
Plus, Kevin Costner holds the key to the presidential race in Swing Vote.
Tell me again who's running.
When the Emperor built the Great Wall, he buried his enemies underneath it. I will call them to battle once again.
So these are the good undead guys, right?
Those mummies, they just don't know when to stop. I'm Richard Roeper.
And I'm Michael Phillips of the Chicago Tribune. Some movie franchises are basically luckier than they are talented. That's the Mummy franchise all over. The new film, number 3 in the Brendan Fraser cycle, is subtitled Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. It's 1946. The O'Connells, played by Fraser and Maria Bello, filling in for Rachel Weisz, are semi-retired in England now, while their adventurer son is off digging for supernatural artifacts in China. Then the O'Connells gratefully accept an assignment to bring a precious diamond called the Eye of Shangri-La back to the Chinese government. Turns out it's the key to uh-oh time.
Again.
There's always a line like that in these sequels. Jet Li plays the Emperor. Michelle Yeoh adds some gravitas, much needed gravitas in this picture, as the witch who aids the O'Connells in their fight against the forces of the undead. But watch the way this fight scene was put together. Okay, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor had 2 editors working triple overtime to stitch a sequence like that together, and none of the scenes show off what the actors or the stunt people or even the effects people can do when given half a chance to hold the screen for more than 2.3 seconds at a time. Anyway, the real stars of this clanger are the effects, and they substitute volume for imagination.
I really hate money!
Seems fairly mutual!
Playboy! More!
Okay, you know what gets me down about the first 2 Mummy films and now this one? It's not so much that they're mediocre, it's that they're giving a new generation of moviegoers the wrong idea about how to excite an audience. This thing is pure visual noise, and Richard, I say it is all too skippable.
It's terrible, Michael. I was never a fan of the first 2, but those are masterpieces compared to this clunk of junk. It's just terrible. I mean, from start to finish, the performances are cartoonish. I like Maria Bello a lot, but she's doing one of the worst British accents I've ever heard. You know,
comes and goes.
Filling in for Rachel Weisz. And then they have a son who appears to be about 7 years younger than they are. I don't know. And also, you get the abominable snowmen who appear in the middle of this thing. You have the worst looking fake snow I've ever seen.
Here's the thing, right? Big budget. These are not small budget pictures, okay? And they take the trouble to go over. The director, Rob Cohen, goes all the way to China, right? Yeah. You know, to get some location work. And then you get the aftermath of an avalanche, and the snow looks like you bought it at the 99-cent store.
And you know, you've got Jet Li and Michelle Yeoh, and they have one cool sword fight, but even that only lasts a few seconds. And as usual, you have this evil guy that wants to rule the world. I don't know what he's going to do with the world once he's conquered the world. It's just silly, and I know a movie like that is supposed to be silly, but it also has to be entertaining and funny. Everybody's mugging, everybody's trying desperately to overcome a terrible script.
Everything is sort of just an overload, and it bums me out that kids, you know, 10, 12-year-old kids who, you know, I'd go at that age to a film like this. It doesn't give you a good sense about what an action adventure
can be. You know what they're doing,
like.
Michael? They're giving mummies a bad name with this franchise.
The Undead
They're giving mummies a bad name. All right, let's move on. A very different movie and an infinitely better movie, I believe. All right, next up is Frozen River. I think it's one of the best small movies of the year. Melissa Leo is a veteran actress, probably best known for her work on Homicide: Life on the Street in the 90s. Here she gives the film performance of her career. She plays Ray, a mother of 2 boys, who is desperately trying to survive after her husband has stolen their savings and run off to gamble it all away. Ray's dream of upgrading the family to a double-wide trailer home is dying quickly.
Mr. Versailles, I've got a good job at Yankee $1. They're probably going to make me manager right after Christmas, so I can definitely make the payments. If you just leave the house.
Just call me when you have the balloon payment.
There's a very uneasy alliance between the poor whites and the Native Americans who live on a Mohawk reservation near the U.S.-Canadian border. Misty Upham plays Lila, a young Indian who gets Ray involved in an illegal smuggling ring.
not going anywhere until those people get out of my trunk.
I'll give you half. Now let's go. Let's go!
I'm not taking them across the border. It's a crime.
There's no border here. This is free trade between nations.
This isn't a nation.
Let's go.
And that's another great performance grounded in such naturalism. These two women, Ray and Lila, start off wanting to literally kill each other before they partner up in the business of smuggling illegals across that frozen river. The alliance that develops and where it takes them is one of the more compelling storylines I've seen in any film this year. What a beautiful and impressive job by first-time writer-director Courtney Hunt. She starts by giving us a finely crafted character study and then plunges us into a tense thriller with echoes of films like Fargo. I say, see it, see it.
I am with you all the way on this, Richard. And Melissa Leo, I mean, I will take her and that face of hers over any 20 Botoxed, you know, even talented actresses in Hollywood, because that is a face you can that can really, really slip inside a character. And it is so great and so gratifying to see an actress of this caliber, hardworking character actress, no star marquee value, but man, she is really good. And this film, very astute about kind of dealing with people who live right on that poverty line, and Hollywood so often kind of treats that kind of milieu very, very patronizingly.
Yeah,
and kind of like
I never got
usually
that.
Get it wrong.
I never got that, Michael. Here, I mean, like all the details of the homes, the workplace environments, like the kind of dollar store that her character works at, the bingo parlor. All of that seems very authentic. And you're so right about Melissa Leo. Kind of reminds me of the film called The Visitor that we both liked so much earlier this year with Richard Jenkins, where you have these treasures, these actors who are so good in supporting roles, don't have maybe the conventional star power or leading man or leading woman looks, and they get their shots, and it's like, wow, spectacular work.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say, and this is, and it's, believe me, it's one of the, I wouldn't even call it a best small film of the year, it's one of the best films of the year, period. But I do think there's a slight tendency to overplot that second half, even when it sort of launches from the character stuff to the narrative. It's a lot. It's really packed.
I was okay
with
with
incident.
that.
You know,
I was okay with that.
A little aired up, but I'll tell you, it's just really well worth seeing.
I hope people check it out. Later in the show, Kelsey Grammer and Dennis Hopper face off for the presidency, and Kevin Costner has the final say in Swing Vote.
And next, Helena Bonham Carter picks a bad day for a bar mitzvah in '66.
Was going to be the Gone with the Winds of bar mitzvahs, the Jesus Christ of bar mitzvahs. In 9 months' time, I was going to be a legend.
Here is a wonderfully acted coming-of-age film. '66 is set in 1966, the year, we're told, when the two most important events in England were the World Cup final and Bernie Rubin's bar mitzvah. Bernie's father owns a grocery store in Kensington, and it's facing some stiff competition from the discount place up the street. Dad is played by Eddie Marsan, and he's got an impeccable air of resignation and the perfect hunch of the shoulders. Mother Esther is played by a more familiar face to American audiences.
Cozy. So what?
Well, less people.
Less people?
Yeah, maybe 100 guests.
100?
Still a sizable amount, 100's plenty.
I had 200 at mine.
That's Helena Bonham Carter as Mum. Young Bernie has the bad luck to have his bar mitzvah fall on a crucial day. Here, Greg Sulkin, the one in the specs, gets a hint of what he's in for as guest after guest starts coming up with excuses not to miss the big match.
The only thing that mattered is that England did not reach that final.
I don't think I'll be able to make Bernie.
Auntie's died. I thought she died last year.
Now, if you remember the Catholic coming-of-age picture, Heaven Help Us, well, this is along similar lines, if not similar theological lines. I liked '66. Even if you don't buy everything director Paul Weiland does to get to his mega happy ending, it's enjoyable nostalgia all the same. And Marsan's performance as the father, a guy who could out-Job Job on one of Job's bad days, is reason enough to say, see it. I liked it.
I'll say skip it, Michael. I would agree with
66?
you. Yes, 66. I would say skip it. I agree the performances are fairly good here. You know, there's some good acting going on here. I think it's a very heartfelt story, but we get the same thing over and over again. The joke about, he's planning the bar mitzvah. Here's England advancing in the World Cup. He's planning another victory by England. The dad's a mope. The brother's a jokester. I mean, we get the same kind of thing. It gets repeated over and over again. I felt like a half-hour sitcom episode is getting stretched into a feature film. And I didn't buy all the happiness that we get toward the ending there when there's a reversal of fortunes.
No, I think the acting is
that was too manipulative. It didn't seem natural. It seemed forced. It seemed over the top. So I don't think it's a bad movie. I think the sentiments are in the right place, but no.
Give me a coming-of-age picture that actually means something to you, sort of in the same age
Breaking
range.
Away.
Breaking Away, okay.
I think does a much better job of that.
Yeah, a great film, too, but I think this one actually has great period flair and just really good acting. So if you like good acting, see the damn movie.
I like good acting. I'd like to see a better movie. Okay, later in the show, I'll give you my picks for the best movies in theaters right now in my 3 to see.
And next, Kevin Costner holds the swing vote.
Maybe not.
Single or regular ballot is holding up a final decision for the American presidency.
So many.
One American citizen will effectively choose the next president of the United States.
From Bull Durham to Tin Cup to The Upside of Anger, Kevin Costner has specialized in playing charming, beer-quaffing rascals. He's at it again in Swing Vote, though his bud is pretty low on the charm and heavy on the beer for most of the film.
Don't forget today.
What's today?
Election day, dummy.
Well, I'm not even registered.
I registered for you in the mail.
Well, that's great. I could get jury duty now.
That's Madeline Carroll, adorable throughout the film as Bud's smart, funny, almost impossibly good daughter. In a setup that would seem ridiculously contrived if we hadn't lived through Florida in 2000, the entire presidential election comes down to just one vote, Bud's vote.
All we have to do is win over one American mind.
I want to know what he reads, what television shows he watches.
Welcome to the party, Bud.
People really like you, Bud.
Swing Vote is filled with familiar faces in supporting roles, including Nathan Lane and Stanley Tucci as campaign operatives, Kelsey Grammer as a vaguely Bush-like Republican president, and a miscast Dennis Hopper as the Democratic hopeful.
Well, I like it. Him and me in a room. Yeah, talking ideas, seeing what comes up.
Great plan. I'll get you some talking points.
Hey, I'm good off the cuff, Artie.
Of course you are. We're just going to get an itty-bitty think tank together. We'll run the data, see what you two could possibly have in common.
They're obviously going for a Frank Capra-type story here, and Swing Vote does have its moments of satire, as well as a few scenes guaranteed to choke you up. But even when he's playing it unshaven, irresponsible, and drunk, Costner looks and sounds like a movie star. And the film's ultimate message is that it's okay to lie for the greater glory. Not a bad movie, probably okay to rent on DVD, but I'm saying don't rush to the theater.
Yeah, I'm with you on the rent it maybe. Yeah, but here I think the film's ultimate message is the issues do not matter. It's just that you're a more informed citizen, and that's really what the movie's about. You know, Bud has to go from being, you know, the beer drinking schlub,
who doesn't know who's running,
one of the great undecideds, you know, and to the most informed citizen in America, basically, with the help of his tutor daughter, you know. And I don't know. I think this is one of these films that is so determinedly playing it down the middle politically. You know, it's so afraid to kind of offend Republicans or Democrats in their portrayals of the two camps. In the end, you know, it's so centrist. You want to just sort of say, do something. You know?
Kind of like bland comfort food. You know what you're going to get throughout. There's nothing here that's going to unsettle you or challenge you. It's not going to bore you. So if you're seeing it on an airplane, you go, oh, that's a pleasant 100 minutes of my life. You know, so I think it'll do well as a rental. Certainly not something with all the good movies playing in theaters.
No, and the Capra reference is absolutely on point. I do hope that people go back and actually see some of the really good, more progressive-minded kind of Capra films, just for comparison's sake. And Costner, you know, I don't think it's going to really bring him back big. You know?
No, you know, he's doing this movie in the cinematic equivalent of a Lazy Boy. It's an easy performance for him.
If you hear the letters CSNY and think, wow, there must be a new crime scene series on TV, it probably means that you're too young to remember what the album covers featuring David Crosby, Stephen Stills, Graham Nash, and Neil Young look like. The new concert film CSNY Deja Vu follows the quartet on their 2006 Freedom of Speech reunion tour. In the old days, the war in Vietnam divided the country and provoked a lot of passionate engagement when it came to making and listening to protest music. The war in Iraq today got these four thinking that it might be time to put it out there again.
These are all songs that are about the same thing. They're about war, the cost of war. So they go very well with this new material because they're coming from the same kind of heart and coming from the same kind of place.
Not much controversy greeted the tour, at least until Atlanta audiences, among others, heard the song Let's Impeach the President. Other concert goers felt more along the lines of this man from Milwaukee.
Somebody has to articulate what people are feeling. this band, these musicians, these artists have been able to do it throughout the years to connect with people and help them express their feelings.
The film was directed loosely by Bernard Shaky, who's actually Neil Young. It doesn't stick with you the way that terrific Dixie Chicks tour chronicle, Shut Up and Sing, did. Here, the stories are more anecdotal and sidewinding, but I enjoyed the stories. I enjoyed the music a lot. Neil Young is a major artist, and Deja Vu is a modest film, but worth your time. Be you fan or be you skeptic, I say see it.
I say see it as well. I agree with you. It's not as good as the Dixie Chicks film, but it is a good, strong documentary. It's great to see these 4 war horses. You know, these guys got together and split up more often than, like, Pam Anderson and Tommy Lee. And it's just good to see these 4 guys getting together and making great music and controversial music. And I think they do a nice job of letting us see how the nation was reacting to seeing these guys and what their messages were on stage.
And I think the irony here really is that Let's Impeach a President is a pretty second-rate song in the
yeah, it is a second-rate song. It ain't subtle either. I wonder what that's about. Let's impeach the president.
And the funny thing is, of course, their best music from the Vietnam era was, much more kind of indirect about making its point. But anyway, the film is a lot of fun.
Even in the case of a song like Ohio, which was about a very specific event, it was about more than Kent State. It was about the entire time, and it captured an era. And yeah, none of these songs, there's a reason I think none of these songs have really galvanized the nation as a protest song, but it's very interesting to follow these guys on the road as they go through this and the reactions they get from it.
This is worth seeing, and so was Neil Young's other concert film, Heart of Gold. He's done a lot of good work in this form lately.
And you're right, he is a brilliant artist. All right, coming up next, Jodie Foster and Abigail Breslin go on an island adventure in our video segment, but first, let's take a look at what's coming up over the next couple of weeks.
You have the easiest job on earth. You smoke all day.
The pants had the magic of keeping us together. They saw us through times of love.
Tell them, McCluskey. Tell them what time it is.
I don't believe you people.
What do you mean, you people?
Not a whole lot to talk about new on DVD this week, but I do have a pick for you. It's called Nim's Island. Abigail Breslin lives with her dad, played by Gerard Butler, on an island that's cushier than even Gilligan's Island.
We take care of our island, Nim. Our island's gonna take care of us.
And that's the way we want to keep it. Our own perfect secret world.
Also nice work from Jodie Foster. She writes these giant adventure tales, but in real life she's an agoraphobic, and then she has to get out there to Nim's Island. You're looking at me. You didn't like it when it came out.
No, I like it. I did not mind it.
Okay.
It's just funny to me to think of like all these parents having to explain agoraphobia to their kids.
Well, that just means she's afraid to go out in the rain, I guess.
There you go. There's a non-PG rated film I liked a lot. Okay. My DVD pick is The Counterfeiters, which won the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film from last year. And not since Roman Polanski's The Pianist has there been such a gripping tale of hellish survival. Near the end of World War II, the Nazis put 150 Jewish prisoners to work in a concentration camp on a large-scale forgery of British and American banknotes. The character at the center of this, based on a real-life forger and a survivor of the camps, is played by Viennese actor Karl Markovics, and he makes you see and feel everything this man is going through. No conventional heroics here, just riveting survival instincts at work in a very strong film.
Okay, so both The Counterfeiters and Nim's Island will be in stores on Tuesday. And we'll be back with my picks for 3 to see the best 3 movies in theaters right after this.
Okay, recapping the movies on this week's show. We both say skip it for The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. We both say see it for Frozen River, one of the best films of the year, I think. We split on 66. I say see it. Richard says skip it. We both say rent it for Swing Vote, and we both say see it for CSNY Deja Vu.
All right, now it's time for 3 to see, my picks for 3 of the best films in theaters right now. At number 3, the goofy but addictive Mamma Mia, which has become one of the highest grossing musicals of all time, thanks in great part to the amazing singing voice of Pierce Brosnan. At number 2, I guess I'm one of the few people that believes in the X-Files. I want to believe. It's a conspiracy to keep people out of the theaters, I think, in that one. And at number 1, you know, Michael, I want to help out an overlooked indie gem called The Dark Knight. I think it needs a little critical push to get it over the $1 gazillion mark.
Yeah, snuck out of Sundance last year, The Dark Knight. But hey, Mamma Mia, interesting phenomenon. I didn't like it. You know, I like this show a lot on stage, but I'll tell you that it is going to ensure a healthy life for the life of the movie musical genre.
Well, I mean, knowing me, knowing you.
Don't sing, please. Don't sing.
I'm not going to. Not this week. Until next week, our voices are silenced and the balcony is closed.